Well, hello to you, wherever you're listening from. My name is Phil Dye. You're listening to Filtered, episode 14. And if the title of the episode hasn't been enough to let you know what it's about, I'll let some TV broadcasts just give you some background.
More than 1,000 Victorian children are awaiting tests for infectious diseases in one of the most distressing child abuse investigations in the state's history.
Joshua Brown has been charged with 70 offences, including child rape against children as young as 5 months old. The accused has worked at more than 20 childcare centres across Victoria since 2017. He held a valid Working with Children's check, which has since been cancelled.
Two Western Sydney childcare workers have been charged with assaulting a 17-month-old toddler in their care. The two women will face court in August.
First tonight, we can reveal shocking new allegations of another male childcare worker who has been charged with child abuse offences. This time, the alleged offender was at a Sydney centre.
To developing news this morning, and the nation's childcare crisis is deepening after a child abuser was caught working at a childcare centre in Queensland. He was employed under the eyes of his wife, who knew his history.
So, if you're listening from Australia, you'll probably know exactly what this is about. If you're listening internationally, daycare and childcare in general in Australia is in deep crisis because of the growing number of sexual abuse charges, mainly against men, taking place in centres around the country. So yes, there's most certainly a devil in daycare. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking to mums and dads about how they feel about this, if it has changed their family patterns, what can be done about it. And by the way, there's no AI voices in this. They're real people with real comments. Here's some of what they had to say.
I don't have childcare at the moment. I was looking at putting her into it, but I don't think I will anymore. I worked in childcare for a little bit. It's not as heavily regulated as I thought it would be.
Putting a kid in childcare is always, a bit of concern, but definitely with stuff like that now, you question whether you want to.
This topic is so important, it doesn't need weasel words. I decided I'd talk to someone who's a straight talker, who's used to confronting the hard issues. Celine Baumgarten, media commentator, but also a young mum. Celine, you've got a very young daughter. What has the latest events in Victoria said to you about the nature of childcare in the country?
Well, I think like most mothers, it's kind of shook me to my core, to be honest. Yeah, my little one, she's 5 months old. And I think these revelations coming out about daycares involving, predators that work at daycares, it really should shake a lot of parents up to, the dangers that are involved with daycare. I do understand the financial strain in this current climate for a lot of couples to feel like, both mum and dad have to go to work. But I don't think we're really thinking long term about what daycare is doing to babies. And I think, there needs to be a change of attitude to keep mothers home with their babies.
And I think what's horrified parents more than anything is that if there's one set of locations in the world that has to be safe, it's childcare and daycare centres. But they're not safe, are they?
No, not at all. And I've seen a lot of former daycare workers on social media say that they would never put their own kids in daycare. So, I felt the same way about nursing homes after working in aged care. I'm like, even the best ones, it's just not ideal. It's not good.
Now, Celine, there's been a lot of talk about banning men from working in daycare and childcare centres. I asked mums and dads about this too, and here's what they had to say.
Do you think men should be allowed to work as a child carer in these centres?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that there should be any discrimination against men in childcare. I think that they could bring a different perspective, definitely similar to how children should have father figures in their lives. I think men definitely plays some kind of value or diversification in the way children can enjoy their day-to-day activities.
As well that everyone's banning males as well from teaching. I think there probably needs to be some more secure measures in order to make sure that they, like the children are looked after. But I don't think it's really a male or a female situation, in my point of view.
Celine, what's your point of view on men working in daycare and childcare centres?
I personally don't think that men should be working in daycares. Now, I didn't say men should be banned from working in daycares. I just said, me personally, if hypothetically I was taking my little one to a daycare, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable handing my baby over to a stranger, period. But I just think a man as well, just adding that extra layer of, uncertainty on top of that.
I support men in education, and gee, we need a lot more of them in the school system. But I acknowledge that it's mainly men who are the perpetrators of these crimes. But did you know, Celine, that the recent statistics say that there has been a 208% increase in the number of women committing sex crimes against children?
But you're right. You're 100% right bringing up these statistics about women, because it's very, very troubling. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, they are strangers. You are leaving your baby in a room full of strange people that you don't know. And a lot of the times with, these predators, men or women, they will find ways into these industries where they are amongst vulnerable people.
Celine, we've looked at men working in childcare, and it seems that a lot of the mums, anyway, favour men working in childcare. But I asked one woman this question and got an answer I didn't expect.
Would you let a man look after your young child in daycare?
Well, yes, I would. However, I don't believe that I could trust a man who's claiming to be a woman in the childcare facility, because I believe that there's only men and women.
And then there was a couple in the afternoon, and I thought I'd be a little bit more direct in that question.
When I was at the park then, a woman said, oh yes, I'd allow a man, but I wouldn't allow a transgender woman, a man who identifies as a woman.
Oh, well. Yeah.
Would you?
I'm not 100% sure on all that. Yeah, that is a new interesting dilemma.
A new interesting dilemma, all right. Celine, what's your view on that?
Well, yeah, gotta love old self-ID, right? I had a very brief conversation with one of my friends on X, because he was saying that daycare centres should be able, they should have the option to advertise as female only, because there's obviously a huge market for that. And then they'll let the market sort it out. And I quickly responded by saying, yeah, sounds like a great idea in theory, but because of our legislation, it's only a matter of time before a man sues the business, because they're not going to hire him on the basis of his, gender identity, of his magic lady feels. I think, definitely right. Someone who, can't grasp the basic concept of sex shouldn't be around vulnerable people.
And I think we're going to see a lot more of this. Celine, would it work if, at the moment, an average day of childcare costs a family about $130 a day?
That's wild.
The government, instead of paying a rebate, actually gave you a maximum, say, of $350 a week to spend on childcare, but that could be spent on private, government, it could be spent on grandparents, it could be spent on family childcare. So the parents get to choose. Do you think that is an option?
I think that's a brilliant idea, to be honest. And as I was saying to you before, I've been listening to a lot of, I believe her name is Erica Komza. I don't know, she's a psychotherapist, lady with grey hair, and she's been on a few of the big podcasts, and she talks about how daycare should be absolutely last resort. And one of the things she talks about is trying to make friendships and connections with local mothers, and have like a mothers group kind of thing, whereas, one or two of the women might take the children for a day, trying to work out some kind of scenario where, as I said before, you don't leave your baby in a room full of strangers. But yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. My partner's mother is absolutely amazing. She's babysat once so far, but that's just because me as a new mum, I'm still learning how to let go a little bit, and I just want to be with her all the time. But I think that's a wonderful idea, because, as you said, it gives the parents a choice, and it feels like in today's society, there's not really much of a choice. It's, daycare's so normalised, they go into daycare some as early as 6 weeks. Like you couldn't put me in a different room with my baby at 6 weeks old. Like it was never going to happen. So I definitely think giving parents more choice is a great idea, and also changing the cultural, societal attitudes around daycare definitely needs to change.
I like what you suggested about mums in the mothers groups, and some of those mums take the child or the children for a day, and then that's swapped over. It's like a co-op, isn't it? It's like a mums and dads co-op.
Exactly, yeah, and they also get financially rewarded.
Yeah, they can be paid. I know I'm on the pension. I'm not a grandparent yet. On the pension, you get what's called a work bonus, where you can earn a little bit. Maybe it's $150 a week or something like that. Tax-free, it doesn't affect your pension. And if my daughter did have a child, I'd jump at that if I could look after the child for a day or two.
I work as a psychologist, so I'm not necessarily a massive fan of big daycare centres just from a attachment perspective. It can be a really tricky thing. But I think it's a systemic issue in daycare centres. There's not enough early childhood educators to work within the services. There's not enough education. And you could go even further than that and look at how there's minimal support for women who are on maternity leave, or women who aren't supported that time when they have children and want to take time off work, or there's just not a lot of options. Right. It's hard, because what is there for people to do if they can't trust the centres?
Daycare as an institution, Celine, is it time for a rethink?
Yeah, I think we need to really relook at daycare as an institution and how normalised it's become. And it's only happened over a few generations. I mean, when I was growing up, my mum and, all my friends, their mums stayed home with them. And I think, we need to do everything that we can to keep mothers at home. The risk-reward situation, you couldn't take my baby away from me and leave them in a room full of strangers. I'd rather, scrape by and struggle, which we currently are at the moment. We're a single-income household. And, I just think, we can say, men should be banned from daycare, or, women should be banned. No, we should look at daycare as an institution and, do whatever we can as a society to keep babies at home with their parents where it's most beneficial for them.
Great, Celine. Thanks for talking to us.
No worries. Thanks, Phil.
I know we've come a long way. We're changing day to day. But tell me, where do the children play?
Well, we may have come a long way, but sometimes I'm not so sure. Yusuf, Cat Stevens asking the questions we should probably all be asking ourselves now. There were some comments from parents that worried me a little bit during my interviews with them. And I'm sure they meant well, and they were simply being nice. I'm going to play you the responses and just have a quick talk about it later.
A ban of having men in childcare roles will further disrupt all the equality that we're trying to get between the genders, so I'm not sure.
And in terms of men being in the... I don't necessarily think that's very fair to say that they shouldn't be in childcare.
Now, I know that those mums were just being nice and being fair, as that last mum said. But when you put your child into a daycare or childcare facility, it's the child that comes first. I'm afraid diversity, inclusion and equity, it comes last. It's your child's safety that is first. The ideal of equity and inclusion and diversity has taken over from the safety issues, and we have to think of the safety of the kids. And this isn't going to be received well by some, but I do agree with Celine that trans women or men who identify as women should not be allowed to work in childcare. After she said that, I did some research and found that 58% of transgender individuals have a psychiatric diagnosis and mental health problems, compared to about 13% of the normal population. So, safety certainly trumps diversity in this instance. Perhaps It's not a matter of banning men from childcare or daycare at all, but it's a matter of having them in different roles. So men can come in and there can be musicians, there can be sort of sporty people who come in, but they always have another daycarer in the room with them at the same time. Because it's not actually what might happen, but it's the optics of it. It's how people see the situation. And heavens above, I used to go into daycare, my daughter's daycare, and sing to the kids. But I wouldn't want to be there on my own with the kids. I'd want another daycarer there. So I don't think it's a matter of banning men, but I don't think we should put ideology over safety under any circumstances.
I think if you can try really hard to have mums or family involved in looking after the children, that this government should be supporting mums in doing that.
That sentiment came up again and again in my interviews. Back in 1998, I wrote a book for new dads called The Father Load, and although I would certainly delete about 20% of what was in that book because I no longer believe in it, I do still believe in 80%. And the main concept of that book was that dads and mums are equal but different, that mums bring different things to the child than a dad does. And in all of my research of biology, and evolutionary biology in particular, it's mums who are the early nurturers and the early carers of the child in their younger years. Sure, dad brings something different a little bit later. He'll bring the sense of adventure and the risk-taking in the world, but it's mum who looks after that initial nurturing. It's mum and women. So I tend to think that men can still be in daycare and childcare, but they should not be in the nappy changing and the feeding, the putting down to sleep, but in different activities, perhaps in a story time, or one of the activities I mentioned a few minutes ago. And the big one, there should always be another worker in the room with them at the same time as they're doing any of these activities. Above all, you've got to have the child's safety first and the parent's sense of security second, and any other idea of diversity and inclusion has got to come well down the track. If you're a parent, I'd be asking to meet every single person in that childcare or daycare centre. Yes, it sounds pushy, but why would a childcare centre not allow that to happen? I'd also be doing as Celine suggested, looking at a mums co-op in the mums group, so that the use of institutional daycare or childcare can be minimised. If not the mums group, then the grandparents group. Grandparents would love the chance to look after their grandchildren. You've been listening to Filtered. My name is Phil Dye. Filtered comes to you from the Illawarra region of New South Wales, a little town called Thirroul, thanks to all those mums and dads who had a chat to me. Also, Filtered is available on all streaming services, not just Substack. If you wish to email me, phil@filtered.com.au. I wish this episode didn't have to happen, but there's a devil in daycare and we have to be able to talk about it. I'll leave you with some words from a mum, and I think they're pretty important. See you next time.
It's hard to have a career and a family and pay for life. Their kids are only kids once. You only get that opportunity once.